Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and welcome to Program Insight in V News English. Dear viewers, one of the most important, hot and pressing issues is closure of Strait of Hormuz, a very important strait that is used by one of the most important ships from all around the world. And these shipments are mainly of LNG and mainly of petroleum and other products as well. Due to the closure and due to the war in the region, of course, Strait of Hormuz and other passages are closed. And that has impacted and affected, of course, oil supply to major Asian countries. South Korea is affected, then China is affected, Japan is affected. In South Asia, Bangladesh, India, and Pakistan, these are the countries which are affected. And of course, Western countries, Western Europe is also affected. Keeping in view this crisis in the Gulf and in the Strait of Hormuz, what other options are available? Of course, when we talk of LNG and oil, it's the engine of the economy. And without LNG and without this oil, of course, economies around the world, particularly the regions that I've mentioned, are severely affected due to the non-availability, or even the oil or LNG could be supplied after many days. So to discuss this all, we are fortunate to have with us Pakistan's very senior petroleum expert, former Federal Secretary, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Resources, Dr. Gulfaraz Ahmed. Dr. Gulfaraz Sahab has also headed Pakistan's largest public sector company, Oil and Gas Development Company as well. Dr. Gulfaraz Sahab, despite your busy schedule, many thanks for joining our program. So how you see this current very deep crisis of oil and LNG crisis? Because of the closure of Strait of Hormuz, these supplies are severely affected.
First of all, these are very rare times. One hasn't really come across these times when the whole energy sector, which means oil, which means LNG, whether it is from the Gulf area or even as far as Australia, it is right now under great pressure. And it would take so much of doing to be able to ease the present situation of oil and gas and LNG. So my feeling is that the world has to now get together and try to achieve some kind of understanding with the rest of the world where they can bring some relief in the oil and gas sector, which may not be possible only from within the Gulf area. It may have to be extended going beyond that.
What are the options available for these large nations other than the Gulf? So can the countries go to Russia? So can the countries go to North America? So what are the available options?
See, as far as Russia is concerned, for a very long time, Russia too has been under great constraint, and their capacity of exporting oil or gas has continuing to go down and down. And therefore, right now, there are no easy options, whether with the Russians or the Australians or Americans. So I think until the world comes together and they are able to pull the situation from the current logjam, one will find it very difficult to cope with the crisis.
Is America and Canada is another option, because both countries, Canada and United States, are having huge oil resources.
There is no doubt that America does have abundant oil resources, but the question of whether that oil would be readily available in the time frame in which the world needs it, that will also remain a question. And as I said before, the Russians' ability to make the difference was curtailed during those 3-4 years of Russian problem.
So, Dr. Saab, country like Pakistan, of course, where people are facing, the state is facing, the country is facing of course, extreme difficulty. Pakistan is largely dependent on oil, which is, of course, imported from Saudi Arabia. So, what do you think? What are the options available for Pakistan?
As far as the oil need of Pakistan is concerned, that is nearly 4 to 500 million barrels, four to 500,000 barrels oil daily. And that sort of oil is not now accessible or available because of the situation in the Middle East. So I think there are no easy solutions. Each country, each nation would have to bear with some very difficult choices. And even then, it would continue to remain very unsolvable. So I think the world should get together now for difficult time.
Why during conflict and war, these oil resources are mainly hit by the countries, by the aggressors? So what is the rationale, what is the objective behind attacking LNG supplies, oil supplies, and blocking Strait of Hormuz?
At this point in time, the fury of the war, which is spearheaded by America and Israel, they have the initiative of attacking the energy infrastructure of the world, and they are continuing to do so.
World, exactly.
Yes, to paralyze the world, but they do not know that eventually they will also stand paralyzed.
So, do you think efforts, when we are talking about collective efforts, is it diplomacy or dialogue, or some of other efforts are needed?
No, there's no doubt that diplomacy and dialogue are always part of the collective effort. Other than that is the jockeying with various nations, which may perhaps be in a position like Australia, like other countries, maybe part of Russia, that they may be able to squeeze some oil or gas to ease the situation. But until and unless the aggressing nations come together to themselves try to bring some relief, it is not going to be so easy.
So, and at the same time, as the crisis is deepening, the prices of per barrel are also going very high. So, how you see and analyze high prices of this crude oil, and what do you think, where it can finally go?
As far as the prices are concerned, at this point in time, the question is that it's the non-availability of these commodities. And while the gas and oil are not available, the price is natural, bound to rise. But it cannot continue to remain so. The world will actually come to jam stop. And until and unless there are some initiatives brought out in the wider world, whether it be Russia, Australia, Europe, and China, until some broader achievements, understanding comes about in the world for the first time has faced some serious situations that it cannot survive easily. The world had not seen anything like this before. There may have been various difficulties of maintaining the supply of energy, but this is perhaps the first time where the whole world has come under constraint, and right now the countries that are actually causing the constraint may perhaps be liking it, but very soon they will also have no ability to make the difference. So I think in my mind, the world hasn't seen anything of this, of the like, for a very long time. So these are some very difficult times for the world, for the humanity.
Saudi Arabia has assured Pakistan of providing oil shipment to Pakistan via safer routes. What are the other safer routes through which the oil could be supplied to Pakistan?
That indeed there are safer routes. The routes which are probably twice longer than the current route, and those long routes also have the challenges, the interruptions, and also the interference. But at least there ought to be some options for some supply of oil.
What are the options available for a country like Pakistan? Should Pakistan focus on exploration of oil and natural resources more within the country? And as a petroleum expert, what do you think? What potential Pakistan has in terms of gas and petroleum?
As far as Pakistan's own resources is concerned, unfortunately, Pakistan's resources are very dire.
Limited.
It is only with the best of effort they're able to produce something like 90,000 barrels a day, which is barely 1/5 of the requirement that we need to produce. So until and unless we are able to import oil and gas from other countries to varying degree, it is not going to be possible for us to maintain this supply.
Dr. Saab, you are a petroleum and natural resources expert, and you must have traveled a lot within the region. In Central Asia, Azerbaijan is a country with huge oil resources. What do you think? Can Azerbaijan provide oil to Pakistan and other South Asian countries? And if so, what could be the possible route?
Looking at some of the options like Turkmenistan and Azerbaijan,
Exactly.
I do agree that those countries do have some free supplies available, and Pakistan should be able to make some arrangements with them. Because I had not stretched my mind, but now that the traditional sources of oil and gas in the Middle East are coming under stress, may not be reliable or available, we may have to think of countries like Turkmenistan, countries like Kazakhstan, countries like Azerbaijan.
Dr. When you were even holding top offices like chairman of OGDCL, and you also headed the ministry as Federal Secretary Petroleum, over the last 2 decades, we are listening this TAPI, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan. So then why this project is still in pending? Why it could not be executed well in time?
This project has a very intractable history. There was a time when Pakistan and India had joined their hands, and we thought that this project will move because both countries were, but later on, India pulled out of the equation and let Pakistan stay in the lurch, and that killed that project altogether. It hasn't been revived to date.
There are no chances in the future that it could be revived, or there could be more focus jointly by Pakistan, Turkmenistan.
Point is that India was a big factor, and unless India also joins in and gives a stent to the that pipeline, we may not be able to revive that pipeline. There may be some other configuration that we might be able to bring about some changes in the pipeline, and even if India is not joining us, that we might still be able to revive it to that extent, but that will take long time.
So do you foresee that in the days to come, the prices would continue to go high? And if it is so, definitely how you see and analyze that subsequently there will be huge effect on essential commodities, on the prices of essential commodities, particularly food items in developing countries and in poor countries around the world, because most of the oils are used in transportation.
As far as essential commodities are concerned, at this point in time, we were hoping that the commodities will not get so seriously impacted. But as the situation is, the commodity prices, once they get impacted and that cost of living gets out of spiral, that would be very difficult times for the world.
What are the other countries other than Russia, United States? What are the other countries which have huge oil reserves, and at this crisis and in such crisis, oil supplies are LNG, because Qatar has one of the largest production facility of LNG. So likewise, UAE, and then Kuwait, then Saudi Arabia, then Bahrain. These are the countries which are having the huge oil supplies, but these oil supplies are disrupted. What are the other countries which are the oil producer, and can oil supply could be ensured from those countries?
You know, we mentioned
Including
Australia
please
as one
Venezuela.
country.
Is Venezuela an option? Venezuela is also an option.
No, Venezuela is currently under stress, and it's not an option. America is currently treating Venezuela as a state of its own, and its status is not yet clear. I personally feel that America will continue to mistreat the status of Venezuela for a long time. Otherwise, that is one country which has the largest reserves of oil in the world.
The future of oil and LNG in the world, keeping in view conflict, Termize, how you see the future of oil and LNG, keeping in view the conflicts?
The world had learned over period how to use its oil and gas reserves and how to maintain the price balance. And barring one situation when it was some kind of difficulty maintaining the prices in the 60s, but it had maintained a normal situation. And now, for the first time, the world has been rocked, and rocked not by either enormous supply of oil. It is the enormous power and control of two countries, primarily America and Israel. And these two countries have rocked the boat, and until and unless the world brings some sanity to these two countries, we may continue to face serious difficulties of maintaining balance of oil and gas in the world.
Thank you so much indeed, Dr. Gulfaraz Ahmed Khan Saab, former Federal Secretary, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Resources, for a very insightful conversation on the crisis in the Middle East, and keeping in view this crisis, how uninterrupted LNG and petroleum supply could be made to the region. But due to the deepening crisis and the closure of Strait of Hormuz, it's not possible for oil-producing countries in the Gulf to ensure uninterrupted supply to a number of countries. And we also discussed a number of other options. Dear viewer, till our next program, goodbye and Khuda Hafiz.